listening at work.
Thank you, welcome. I hope I keep you entertained at work, or maybe I'll rot your brain. It's definitely Lorchin time. Anyway, we're gonna be watching Lily's Do You Mind If I Complain About Adventure Fantasy video. When I was doing the gay rep video, her Forgotten Gays of Western Animation, which was really just Canada did it first, neater, I'm gonna ignore Mission Hill and The Simpsons. She went on her same old bullshit rant about how adventure fantasy is just too popular and slice of life is objectively the best genre ever.
The attention and focus is on the big-scale adventure epics with plenty of action and huge worlds and high stakes. This is a sentiment that only got worse as the years went on and Western animation started hyper-inflating the importance of the adventure fantasy genre, since the adventure fantasy scourge pushed every contemporary show into a ghetto. The narrative of Korra to Steven to She-Ra to Owl House is so important for some people to maintain, that this prestige genre of adventure animation has to have a uniquely different position above everything else.
Oh, people who like adventure fantasy cartoons, they think it's a higher class, like she was inventing cartoon classism.
There's something else, a lesser class of animation. Certainly not compared to such a grand operatic masterpiece. This is just different, darling. A better class of art. I can't see the way discourse around LGBT rep and animation goes and not see this kind of classism.
But she's been making the same fucking argument for so long. This is from 2 years ago. It's a 13-minute video, but you know how it goes with Lily. We have to stop every 10 seconds and talk for an hour about how wrong she is.
In my video on the Ghost of Molly McGee, I mentioned that most modern cartoons can fit into two broad camps, the animated sitcom and the adventure fantasy.
Okay, so this is her arbitrary division of children's cartoons, guys. Let's keep this in mind. She's establishing this at the beginning of the video. I'm sure she's gonna fucking contradict herself at some point. So, children's cartoons only fall into two camps according to Lily Orchard. Action, fantasy, adventure, dramedy, slice of life, character-focused sitcom. Well, how is The Ghost in Molly McGee not a fantasy dramedy? I mean, it has ghosts, in it.
At the end of the day, I watch cartoons to either A, enjoy myself, or B, cry. People give me crap all the time saying I need to consume more media aimed at adults.
You do. You do need to watch more media aimed at adults because you keep demanding that children's shows have adult themes in them, or you want them to be more grounded and more cynical. And it's like, they're for children, Lily. There's nothing wrong with being an adult and enjoying programming, especially adventure animation aimed at children. But if that's all you watch and you're constantly complaining that the themes aren't complex enough for you, there's a solution to that. Go fucking watch something for adults then. But Lily can't even handle nuance in a children's show.
I'm just not into po-faced dramas or borderline pornography that makes up.
That's all you write, though. All you write is po-faced dramas or borderline pornography, Lily, or actual pornography.
I don't only watch cartoons. This is just where I work, and it's where my skill set is ideally suited.
I don't just watch cartoons, but this is my job. Yeah, Lily, again, your self-assigned fucking job. You could make videos on the Big Bang Theory. People do that.
If you ask me to seriously critique, I don't know, The Wall, I'd say this is far beyond my wheelhouse and skill set.
Well, you couldn't do worse than Doug Walker, Lily. You couldn't do worse than Doug Walker. Though you could surprise me.
But back to adventure fantasy, I have a very poor relationship with the genre. I've certainly liked enough shows in the genre.
So what does she have on here? She has Atla, Gravity Falls, Owl House, Steven Universe, The Tangled Show, Star vs. She-Ra, Voltron, which is more... See, this is sci-fi, but she lumps it all into adventure fantasy. So anything with fantastical elements where the characters have an adventure she hates, I guess.
I've certainly liked enough shows in the genre, like Gravity Falls, The Owl House, and... yeah, I think that's it, actually. You guys will remember that I got heated about The Legend of Korra, Steven Universe, Tangled, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil.
Yes, we know you got heated, especially over Steven Universe. You still don't fucking shut up about it, Lily.
As awful as it was, the last thing you could call Steven Universe was boring. I got fired up about that one.
You got fired up about shit you just made up about it, though.
Part of the reason we enjoy art is to feel something, and even contempt, disgust, and a desire to maintain a 2,000-kilometer distance from the executive producer at all times are feelings. Anger is motivating. Anger gets shit done.
Lily, nobody cares about your fucking blurbo. World of Warcraft has not been relevant for like 13 fucking years.
There's value in tearing apart Steven Universe as a how not to do it guide.
No, there isn't, Lily, because you get everything wrong about it and you just make up shit. You can't say, oh, the show did this wrong when you don't even fucking understand what it's about. You think it's about redemption and Nazis and redeeming Nazis, which... that's not even close.
While adventure fantasy shows can sometimes be really good and sometimes suck so much dick they breathe spunk instead of air, most of them are insufferably dull. They're a cultural void built from a collection of the same established tropes, themes, and storylines, and just slamming Control-V until you're going through the latest coming-of-age story with a plucky, energetic protagonist.
And again, we see Lily thinking that tropes are inherently bad, which is completely untrue. Don't let anyone make you think tropes are bad. Yes, we have TV tropes, which likes to highlight and make fun of tropes, but tropes themselves are not a bad thing. And I think she does get more into this in this video, because I did peek at the transcript. I cheated.
Slamming Control-V until you're going through the latest coming-of-age story with a plucky, energetic protagonist who gets slowly beaten down until they're miserable and angsty, and a villain with some Freudian excuse that will turn out to get a hastily rushed redemption.
How the fuck are these three characters? How do they have anything in common except arguably these two were child soldiers? What the fuck was Freudian about White Diamond's motivation? She's just a narcissist.
Favoritism, a theme about learning to forgive, and a story pacing that is practically begging you to make elaborate theories that will never turn out to be true, but will succeed in battering the sunk cost fallacy into your mind.
She hates fandom speculating about plot and stuff and lore. So what if your speculations turn out to not be accurate to what happens in the story? You still had fun talking about it. You still had fun talking about these things and speculating and thinking about it. And hell, you can always write a fanfic.
Anthony Gramaglia sent a super chat. She doesn't like fan speculation because that means people will disagree with her opinions.
And she's not keeping up with the lore or story, so she hates when other people discuss it because other people understand things that she doesn't. Lily can't stand people knowing things she doesn't, even though she barely knows anything.
The problem with Lily is that she always acts like fandom is the authority or has a say in anything. Like, ignore the fandom if it annoys you so much.
It's more like she wants to control the discourse of fandoms, even though she has the worst takes imaginable. She's just that kid on the playground that goes, no, you're not playing right. You need to play right, and changes the rules in the middle of the game to like favor themselves. That's what she is. So this is Lily's idea. She's like, if you like a show and it doesn't tell you its entire story right away and builds up a mystery and you speculate about it, you're just addicted. You have the sunk cost fallacy. And it's like, Lily, if a show like starts to get bad, I'm not gonna finish watching it. Do you know how many years it took me to watch the final season of X-Files because it's so fucking awful?
Lily likes characters, but hates story. She wants to just straight to the end. Quite literally for her, it's about the destination, not the journey.
Yeah, and she complains about people who go, oh, I have all these ideas for scenes, but now I have to write all the stuff in between. You know how people like make that complaint kind of jokingly? But that's what she does. She just writes the scene she wants to get to in little vignettes and never writes any of the connective tissue. Look at any of her fucking fan fiction or original writing. It's just vignettes of the scenes she wants to rush to without building up anything else, and she expects other people to care. You know, people aren't gonna care about your characters if you don't give us a reason to.
Repeating that cycle over and over again until the emotional part of your brain dries up. I'm sorry, maybe this is just me, but if something is leaving me emotionally numb, I'm not gonna keep watching it.
Lily, you're just assuming these things are leaving people emotionally numb. Just because they leave you emotionally numb because you can't fucking follow them and you can't appreciate the writing or the world building doesn't mean that's everyone's experience. She has no concept of mind. She can't imagine that other people have thoughts and feelings that are different than hers. Like, she can't grasp that concept.
The adventure fantasy genre is oversaturated, has actively choked more promising genres out of existence.
Impossible is a promising genre. Kids spy things have always been around, Lily. There's probably one right now that I don't even know about.
And yet this is what the industry is continuously churning out, with all the same adventure coming-of-age rivals to lovers plots featuring underdeveloped characters who all go through the exact same character arc.
Okay, if you don't want to watch coming-of-age stories, Lily, stop watching things for children! Of course, children's media is going to focus a lot on coming-of-age. Like, what the fuck do you think Go watch some fucking Lifetime movies. Go watch, like, I don't know, go watch Mamma Mia or something, Lily. Go watch whatever the fuck middle-aged white women watch, because that is your taste.
Featuring underdeveloped characters who all go through the exact same character arcs in the exact same way, because a lot of white Twitter users who just want to kill time with non-threatening, unchallenging animated AO3 fics with the same tropes that never leave their comfort zone.
Exact same character, or who, what, where, and who the fuck is even that? I don't even know who that is, Lily! Why are you just flashing random people at me, Lily? That was Christy Golden? Warcraft writer. So someone even more obscure who has nothing to do with what she's talking about. How are we supposed to know who this person is? You're just saying white people on Twitter and showing me a random woman who I don't know who she is or what she's done or what she's said. You're just saying this person said bad things on Twitter. What are you even trying to say? Yeah, maybe this is the woman who writes Sylvanas, so she just fucking hates her or something because she thinks Sylvanas shouldn't be a villain because Sylvanas is her Blorbo, I guess. I don't know.
Back to how Kim Possible couldn't be made today because the discourse surrounding cartoons and the ubiquity of Twitter means that the fanbase would try to pigeonhole it into being an adventure fantasy show. It
couldn't be made today because people on Twitter would say it should be fantasy adventure. I mean, it is an adventure show, isn't it? She's a high school girl by day and a spy by evening or whatever, right? That's all I know about Kim Possible. I'm sorry, I did not grow up with it. So she says people on Twitter are idiots, but then says people on Twitter would demand Kim Possible be a fantasy adventure show and thinks that that would somehow actually affect the show production. Are adventures only a problem when it's fantasy, Lily? I mean, where are you going with this? We never know where she's going with anything because she just word vomits into a script and then doesn't edit it and then records it and then feels satisfied with herself.
The discourse surrounding cartoons and the ubiquity of Twitter means that the fanbase would try to pigeonhole it into being an adventure fantasy show, likely decrying Kim's personal life as boring and would probably harass the executive producers for years when they didn't pair a 16-year-old girl up with a 35-year-old supervillain.
Okay, so? This has nothing to do with the quality of the show itself or the quality of shows that came after it, Lily. See, this is why I keep reacting to Lily. She says some of the most insanely confusing things, and you just have to sit here and try to figure out what region of her diseased brain she's pulling this from and what influenced her to say this.
Botzilla69 sent a super chat. What is it about adventure fantasy that she has such a grudge against it? I get it if you don't just like it, but there has to be a reason for such hatred towards the genre. Poopa stinka.
It's so strange. Like, she'll hold a grudge against a show for a decision she didn't like, or she'll hold a grudge against, like, Blizzard for writing Sylvanas as a villain. She'll hold a grudge against shows just because people she doesn't like them. Like, the way she interacts with media is just so odd. And just so tied back into all of her own petty grudge-holding bullshit.
Without Twitter and the apparent societal expectation that you have it for some fucking reason, you couldn't yell directly into the executive producer's ear.
Lily, you need to prove that any of these showrunners are trying to, like, rewrite their shows based on what Twitter said. She again doesn't understand that, like, animated seasons of television were produced, like, a year or more before they air. A few of the things she says, especially about Steven Universe, makes me think she was sitting there watching Steven Universe come out week to week, and she would hate something in a recent episode, and people would be complaining about it on Twitter. And then in the next episode, their questions about the previous episode would be answered, and she would just be sitting there going like, ah, yes, we questioned this plot point last week, so this week they changed it because of our commentary. And it's like, Lily, these episodes were already made. They're already working on the next season. They're not even thinking about these episodes anymore. This is not how animation works.
And it isn't just that these shows are so aggressively copy-pasted with plot lines that sound like somebody's shitty D&D campaign, but that most of them get an enormous profile.
Copy-pasted plot lines. Okay, give us an example. What's a plot line in Korra that's similar in Gravity Falls? Tell me this. What's a plotline in Wander Over Yonder that's similar to fucking Star Wars Rebels, Lily?
Most of them get an enormous profile for no reason other than their genre.
Yeah, Lily, because people like fantasy adventure and you need to fucking get over it. Adventure and action are always going to be the more popular thing than, you know, a bunch of middle-aged women sitting around having wine talking about their shitty marriages and their feelings. You know, which is what you want every show to be.
Anthony Gramuglia sent a super chat. Lily, just watch Pride and Prejudice. No, wait, stop.
Time to get back to Lily, I suppose.
But since all of them are slice of life shows, nobody pays them any attention whatsoever. Nobody fucking talks about them because you can't make aggressively clickbait YouTube videos about their stories because their stories are personal and character focused and not strung along mysteries about some of the worst lore ever written.
I don't like the lore, so it's bad when shows have lore. Okay, Lily? That's literally just you, though. Like, other people are allowed to like things that you don't like. Like, you have to actually come up with a reason why you think these things are badly written. You can't just say it. Like, I can give you plenty of examples of writing I don't like in Steven Universe and why and give my reasons. Like, but you can't even. You're just like, no, this thing sucks and everyone else should think it sucks too because I said so. Me. She won't give an explanation, though. We know she won't. I say this every time I react to Lily, but I know she's not going to actually justify her fucking points. She just says things. She just says whatever she thinks makes her sound smart. But it all comes back to, like, the things that personally draw her ire that she tries to act like are some universal issue. Hey, Lily, if you're watching this, because I know you're going to copyright strike it probably, please enlighten us what you think makes all these shows samey. And what you think they have in common. I would love to hear it. I wonder how Lily lives her life hating almost everything and anything when it comes to media. Like, how does a person get to the point where they bitch about every single piece of media in existence? She just wants to be angry. I mean, I like bitching and complaining about things, clearly. What I'm doing, we're having a fun time. I'm not gonna be seething about this video later.
This is not a fucking meritocracy. Shows get these profiles not because they broke new ground, but because they fit a certain mold of cartoon that is socially acceptable to talk about.
Again, just flashing back to a fandom.com article about how, hey, there's gay stuff in She-Ra. Hooray! An article probably like all of like 20 people read and then immediately forgot about.
The kind of cartoon that you can squint and pretend is for adults based on its superficial qualities, based on the mistaken...
Lily, nobody has to pretend a show is for adults. Yeah, sometimes you get fucking morons online that are like, no, the show is like really deep, guys. Like, I had one guy like outraged at me for saying Steven Universe is appropriate for 8-year-olds. They're like, what about the forced fusions and stuff like that? It's super dark. And I'm like, please watch something for adults for once. Please, for once in your life, watch something for adults. Also, kids like scary things. I liked scary, dark, morbid, icky things when I was a little kid. Lots of kids like shit like that. I would have probably eaten a show like Steven Universe up when I was a kid. I watched fucking Gargoyles when I was a kid. You know how dark that was? It was pretty dark.
The kind of cartoon that you can squint and pretend is for adults based on its superficial qualities, based on the mistaken paradigm that a work has to be serious itself to be regarded as seriously.
Lily, I take children's animation seriously because I am a cartoonist and I am interested in the work other adults do, which includes shows that they make for children.
You can pretend Amphibia is for adults because occasionally the characters get really sad and the music gets melancholy and sometimes there's a fight.
No one told you to pretend it's for adults, Lily. You said at the beginning of this video that children's cartoons is your bread and butter on YouTube. So of course, people recommended this acclaimed children's cartoon to you. So why are you complaining? Lily, that's you. Where's my clip?
Lily, that's you. That's you, Lily.
It's you, Lily. You're the one who's like demanding like all these adult themes from fucking children's shows. It's like when you said last one out of Beach City should have been a completely silent episode of Pearl driving around depressed. Yeah, that's really gonna appeal to the kids, Lily.
The Craig of the Creek? That's about kids playing pretend in the woods. That's for babies.
But there are still movies for adults about kids hanging out in the woods. You ever fucking see Stand By Me, Lily? But like, yeah, it's not gonna get a bunch of theory videos on YouTube because there isn't a lot to theorize about. Because it's not that kind of show. That's not indicative of its quality or what people think of its quality. That just means other shows have more things to talk about because they have lore and a fantasy world that is not the real world. This takes place in the real world. We already know what that's like.
We're really mature and we want shows for adults. This is always going to be the trap of maturity.
Lily, you are the one who says you don't want to watch adult shows because they're just basically porn and soap operas. And now you're complaining that other people supposedly think kids' cartoons are for adults. But you're the one who always wants like adult themes in kids cartoons. Can you make up your fucking mind, Lily?
This is always going to be the trap of maturity. See, intellectual maturity and genuinely moving stories are made all the time. It's just that an intricate, high-concept story is not going to be rated R by any ratings board worth their fucking salt.
Lily, there are plenty of high-concept stories that are rated R. What are you fucking talking about?
Pixar films are the most mature animation has ever been, and they...
No, Lily. No. Look, I'm not a very big fan of Pixar or Disney personally, so I'm a little biased. Pixar movies are made to be commercially viable and have wide market appeal, Lily. Lily is someone who says that people only watch Princess Mononoke for the action scenes, and she thinks she knows what mature animation is.
Mature animation simps will often point to Studio Ghibli as the gold standard for adult animation, but I always ask them what their favorite Ghibli film is when they do that, because 9 times out of 10 they'll say Princess Mononoke. A pretty standard kids action-adventure film that follows Miyazaki's usual environmental theme, but if it was mature animation you were looking for, you would think your favorite would be Grave of the Fireflies or Only Yesterday. Films that are actually about something a little more concrete than, well, I sure love the forest. But Mononoke is an action-adventure epic, while the others are a lot slower and quieter.
Just let that one sink in.
Chipmanly93 sent a super chat. Clearly she ain't seen a Ralph Bakshi production.
Lily, go watch Cool World. It might break you.
The reason nobody worth taking seriously is going to look at a show like Amphibia and say it isn't for kids is because your warped perception of what children actually are doesn't line up with reality.
Where is this coming from? At the beginning you just said adventure fantasy is too popular, and now you're saying all the fans of adventure fantasy cartoons over the age of 18 are just deluding themselves that they're for grown-ups. When you are the one constantly bitching and moaning that Steven Universe doesn't focus more on the adult characters and doesn't have more adult themes, and you think it's about Nazis.
A 10-year-old can handle violence. Despite the rating, our parents all let us watch PG-13 films growing up. No.
Where did this even come from in this video, though? I'm so confused. You just brought this up out of fucking nowhere, Lily. Edit your fucking scripts, Lily.
Story in the history of the fucking universe has ever gotten an R rating for angst, because angst is not an adults-only concept.
Who is saying this? Is it maybe a few morons online who are like, no, guys, this children's show is totally for grown-ups because it's so dark, guys. Like, yeah, some morons say that, but, like, they're not, like, the majority of people.
Hailstorm sent a super chat. Would Philaday or Watership Down break clearly more?
Philaday is, like, the even weirder one because it's fucking French, right?
The only reason Game of Thrones is considered a show for adults is because it's hot fantasy that fucks. Meanwhile,
also because it isn't aimed at children or written to be appropriate for children, Lily? Are you saying Game of Thrones would be considered for children if it didn't have sex in it? Like, what is even that point?
Meanwhile, The Lord of the Rings, which is universally appealing to people of all ages, has a lot more depth, meaning, and cultural value to it than Game of Thrones could ever hope to fucking be.
Yeah, because it's Tolkien, Lily. It's hard to top Tolkien. And also, those movies are rated PG-13. And the only reason they didn't get an R rating is because they had to tone down all the blood and violence. Like, yeah, the Lord of the Rings movies can appeal to a lot of people, but they're still rated PG-13. There's still stuff in them that would be too scary for children. And there's still a lot of stuff in it that will go over children's heads. I don't think an 8-year-old is fully going to grasp what's going on in Lord of the Rings, Lily.
You're literally pulling the more pathetic, sad loser variant of it's not a doll, it's an action figure.
Lily, that's you, Lily! Where did this argument even come from? How does this tie to anything you were fucking talking about previously?
All these shows, the only one that is not appropriate for children to actually watch is Steven Universe. And it's not because it's too mature, it's because it's not mature enough. Because through
Okay, here we go, guys. She's gonna go after Steven Universe again. It's not appropriate for kids because it's not mature enough. Where the fuck she's going with this?
Because through its own childish idiocy, it teaches extremely fucked up lessons to children about abuse and totalitarianism. Letting kids watch it is like letting them watch South Park.
Steven Universe mentioned! She didn't even, like, fucking say anything about it, so what are you gonna say about High Guardian Spice, for fuck's sake?
Guardian Spice was advertised as having inappropriate language, violence, and sexual content inappropriate for children. Nowhere in that show does any of that actually happen.
The show also had, like, the most ass-brained production, led by people who had never made anything before, so of course it turned out like fucking garbage.
Its content warning was a literal fucking lie.
Who the fuck cares? It was was garbage.
Caught up in this insipid fucking cycle, and the end result is what? A bunch of half-baked Avatar wannabes devoid of any personality of their own and lacking any kind of charm made by people.
One of them is literally a sequel to Avatar, but how do these not have their own identities? These are all very distinct and instantly recognizable styles. None of these shows could be mistaken for any of the other ones. Like, you're not gonna fucking look at Gravity Falls and say, is this Star Wars Rebels?
People whose media diet is the same fanfiction and anime over and over and over again, and cartoon fandom laps it up because while
Lily, that's fucking you again. You just watch the same shows and play the same games and write the same fucking fanfics over and over.
Lily, that's you. That's you, Lily.
Yeah, Lily. It's you. It's always been you, Lily. You're just shouting into an echo chamber, Lily. That's all you ever been doing.
Bluge sent a super chat. Can anyone remember what the point Lily was making?
No. She started out saying kids shows can be divided into adventure, fantasy, or slice of life, and now we're here.
The hype people try to generate for Amphibia, I checked out very quickly because it was just more of the same. Just another kind of funny, kind of angsty adventure show, spending more time setting up a world than the characters.
Well, Lily, sometimes a series is about the world. And that's fine.
Just another one. Meanwhile, the ghost of Molly McGee moved me so completely that I fucking cried.
But it reminds us that even in darkness, there is light. No matter what happens, we celebrate that we're still here.
This is just Lily going, see, I'm not anti-Semitic. I like the Jew episode. See, I'm not anti-Semitic. I keep showing the menorah, guys. I'm not anti-Semitic, guys. I'm not. Just because I called Rebecca Sugar a Nazi doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic, guys. See, menorah, see? Mazel tov. Oh, God, we need to finish this fucking video.
It can be very upsetting when someone says that it's not worth their time, because what does that say about the time you've wasted? I mean, spent. Time you spent. Those who saw my coverage about LGBTA rep were often confused as to why I so frequently omitted Kipo in the Age of Wonder Beast when talking about good gay rep, because it does have a very good piece of gay rep that is simple, straightforward, and honest. No metaphors, just a character saying he's gay. And the reason is that while I love that aspect of it, it's the only part of the show I saw through clips on YouTube.
So maybe go fucking watch it then. Ow, people only uploaded clips of this scene, okay? Actually fucking watch a show before you talk about it. You're a fucking critic and reviewer. That is your job that you keep saying is your job.
It's just another adventure fantasy. I don't talk about it for the same reason I don't talk about Kate and Vi. The show they're actually in just isn't worth watching.
You can't just say the show isn't worth watching without even explaining why you think that.
For all I complain, I do think the tide is turning on the adventure fantasy genre. Last year, Disney released what is probably the pinnacle of the bland adventure fantasy genre in Raya and the Last Dragon. It
wasn't the genre that made it bland, it was that they didn't think this movie's plot or world out very well at all.
Featured every single trope that fandom had been obsessed with since 2005.
She's trying to say Raya is proof that the adventure fantasy genre is inherently bad, when the reason why Raya is bad is just because it had a terrible script and poor world building.
And a lot of people turned up their nose immediately. While people who are fine with any animated feature that gives enough pretty lights and sounds enjoyed it, the audience that they had been pushing for just wasn't there.
Yeah, the audience wasn't there because it obviously sucked, and you could tell from the trailers it was going to suck.
And even better, those same people flocked to Encanto months later, a film that was as far removed from the adventure fantasy genre as it could possibly be.
That's just ignorant. It would be world-spanning for it to be an adventure fantasy. Mirabelle goes on an adventure, she makes revelations, she comes back to her normal life with the knowledge she has gained. She's rejected at first. So yeah, you could easily put Mirabelle into the hero's journey into an adventure fantasy story. So fucking shut up.
A film that was actually mature and actually introspective instead of just pretending to be those things. Granted, much of the adventure fantasy audience is also really not handling Encanto very well, but whatever. That more people—
How is that not handling it well? It seems like shit you would say, Lily. You would probably say Obuela got off too easy and she should be kicked out a window. I don't think she fucking watched it. She admitted just now with Kippo that she just watches clips on YouTube of things. I think she just watches clips on YouTube of like the highlights of movies and then forms her own opinion of what she thinks they're about.
That more people gave The Ghost of Molly McGee a chance when these shows are usually ignored completely gives me hope that maybe we're through the worst of it. That maybe with audiences now starting to grow as tired of these tropes as I am, we'll be able to push through to some new and interesting ideas.
And she's making the same fucking complaints 2 years later. Ow, Raya the Last Dragon is definitely going to be the death knell for fucking adventure fantasy as a genre.
At least, that's what I'm hoping for. There are far too many of these shows already, and I certainly hope Disney has dad-joked it into being unfashionable for a while.
So as usual, she like doesn't even remember the point she started out making, because at the beginning of this video she was talking about how kids' cartoons fall into only 2 categories: action, fantasy, adventure, dramedy, or slice-of-life character-focused sitcom. And then by the end, she's saying, all these adults who are trying to convince me that kid shows are mature are stupid. Anyway, Steven Universe should have had a totally silent episode about Pearl being angsty while driving a car.